So I was having this problem recently where I'm researching everything from AI cults to gardening tips to software development for malware to malware reverse engineering and all of this fun stuff. And I was finding tons of great content on it, but I was losing it all, or it was just exiting my brain. ADHD is fun like that. And I've tried basically everything. So I have tried Obsidian, I have tried Notion, I have tried writing things down in notebooks, and with the volume of information that I'm consuming, it's like too much. It's way too much. I can't even really deal with it properly. So I started to try to kind of figure out a solution to this. And the solution that I came up with is ScrollWise. This is a AI kind of like integrated startup that I'm building. It's very small right now. Actually, the landing page that we're looking at here is it's AI generated. Quite frankly, I wanted something that would, pop up really, really quick, on a web server and basically give you the gist of what I'm going for. But it is currently in development and I've been working on it for the last couple of months, and it's finally at a point where I can at least explain how the infrastructure works and how I'm building it out. So let's talk about it. Essentially what ScrollWise is it is a browser extension. You can obviously, it's nothing fancy, but you can look at it here. This is the browser extension as it is right now. Obviously, again, not much, but this browser extension runs in the background on currently Twitter and Blue Sky. And every time you view a post within the UI, so I can pop over here to Twitter and I can view posts within the UI. And while I'm viewing these posts, there's no telling what's going to pop up here, by the way. While I'm viewing these posts on Twitter and while I'm viewing these posts on Blue Sky, it is grabbing those posts and sending them off to the back end. And in the back end, a lot of magic is happening that will allow you essentially to be able to query your scroll history. So all of the different content that you viewed on different sites, it will allow you to query that. So let's pop over to Krita and we can talk a little bit about how that's going to work. So currently as it stands, you have got your browser. So this is browser. And that browser is sending off content to the backend. So this is the backend. And this is content. And in the backend, it's storing all of the content with its metadata, meta, content, and its ID. This ID is a unique identifier for the content itself. And you are also storing the ID locally. So this is also storing the ID and it's storing the vectors. And for the vectors, it's only storing them for 1 week. 1 week. Okay. Now in my backend, I'm not storing such and such person scraped this data. Okay. All I'm storing is the content itself, the metadata about the content. So a link to the post, a link to the images within the post, and the ID. And all that's going to happen is whenever you make some sort of request to the backend, you are going to send along some IDs. So when you make a request, you're going to send along an ID list. ID 1, ID 2, ... Okay. And that's going to send it along to the back end. On the back end, it's going to look up the content by its ID as well as the vector. So it's also going to grab the vec and it's going to grab the content. Okay. So I have no idea what it is you specifically scraped. I just have a list of posts with a bunch of IDs with them. That's important because I want people to understand that while I am scraping the data out of their browser, I'm not storing it alongside their identity because that would be bad. I don't need to know what all you're looking at. I don't need to know who you're following. I just want the content itself, because what I can do is I can tie that content and the vectors together. And when you send a query, so that's just a normal request, let's make it more specific. So when you send a query, This is a query. So a query is something like a question that you want to ask. So let's say I want to know what is out there about malware development. So that's going to search for all of the content that is interesting about malware development. So you're going to send along that query, okay? And my backend is going to send you back some vectors. So let's just call this qvec, okay? So it's going to send you back a basic giant list of numbers that represent your query. You're going to do a search on your local database. So you're going to do a vec search, and you're going to send along some IDs. And then you're going to send along more IDs. So you're going to send along basically IDs that match. And you're going to send along others. So these others are going to be the ones that don't have the vectors tied to them. Here's the reason why I have to do it this way. I would love to do all of the vector storage and all of the vector searching in your browser. The problem with that is these vectors are huge. You would have to store a ton of data locally. So essentially all you're going to do is local vector storage for 1 week. ID storage, let's say 3 months. Because all the IDs are strings. Okay, so you can store like fairly short strings for a very long period of time and not run into any kind of storage problems. Okay, so you're going to store all of your IDs and you're going to store 1 week worth of vectors. Okay, so you're going to send along all of the IDs that match that vector search, that are at least kind of similar or pertinent to your query, and you're going to send along all of the IDs that you have essentially for the last like 3 months. Okay, and on the back end, we're going to do a much larger vector search across all of the other IDs to see which ones of those are pertinent. So what you're going to end up getting is a big list, content list, and this is going to be pulled from that vector search, both remote and local, and that is going to go along to the LLM. So it is going to send along this giant list of content that we have determined is pertinent for that query, and it's going to send it along to the LLM in order to answer this question. Okay, and you will end up getting back a reasonable answer. All of this is going to happen in the back end. You will have to worry about nothing except for making the query and scrolling. And I know for a fact that if you're anything like me, you don't have any problem with scrolling. So let's simplify all of this stuff down. You scroll, you query, I store, I search, I answer. The only thing that you have to worry about is keeping the plugin running in the background, which will be easy. All you have to do is attach it to your browser and forget about it. And you have to worry about querying, just like you would query a normal LLM, except this time it has access to a bunch of pertinent information for what you're looking for. That all is complex. That all is a bit of a mess. I have got a waitlist open. This waitlist, all it is right now is a way for you to send me your email, and I'm going to send you out explanations and devlogs as I develop things out. I'm going to have a demo for it later on, a little bit later on. It's probably going to be a little bit, that is going to show kind of how it works. This was kind of the higher level technical overview of how it works. All of the stuff that I've explained here works. Like all of that is done. That part is completely done. The YouTube part is not. But the scraping of Blue Sky, Twitter, vectorization, query search, all of that is done. I have to build a front end for it. I have to manage all of the context between like yourself and the LLM. That part's going to be a little bit messy, but that's the part that's left. But basically, I will be sending out devlogs for this as I kind of develop things that are demoable, and you can sign up to join the waitlist for that. It's free. It just means that I get to send you emails. That's about it. Take it easy. Peace.